Hey, it's the FCS CheckDown. Coach Ron Jackson, Nathan McCreary, Brandon, hopefully he's going to be able to join us shortly. He's got baby duties for trying to get them down. Of course, his wife's pregnant, and, we all know how that goes. I've got 2 daughters, and Coach Jackson, you've got a couple youngins, and not so young anymore, but we've been there. I wouldn't go back, I'll tell you that much. Coach, how the heck are you?
You know what? Fine as frog hair, split 4
Love it.
ways. I cannot complain. Beautiful day, beautiful, dude, I can't wait. We're getting closer and closer to week 0.
Without question, we're getting closer to week 0. I think we're now 20-something days away, 26 days away, something like that. We already got...
we're going to have football in August.
You got that right. G6FB 2247 in the house, as well as Steve McKenzie, Steve Hotchkiss. We're popular with Steve's and Brandon's, apparently. Let me see. Oh, is this? I can't. Yeah. Okay. So, Brandon's doing good. Brandon Haddock's asking, how's everyone doing? We're doing great. Thank you guys in the chat for coming aboard. Yeah, if you're new to the show, make sure you put something in the chat. We pop some stuff on. We want you to be involved in the conversation. We're doing a deep dive this week on the Big Sky, and I know we have a ton of Big Sky followers, and we want your input on some of the stuff because we're going to talk about it. We are all on the East Coast, and of course we watch a lot of Big Sky football, but some of the news just doesn't come through all the time, Coach Jackson. We know how that is, but we're going to take a look around the FCS, the news and all that good stuff. Big Sky deep dive, and we have another big question to answer, and we will start, Coach Jackson, with the Bobcats. They are, you know what? I got to pop you in here. Hang on. You're not there yet. You're not there.
Looks like you got a close up of my neck.
That's not you. That's not you. See, this is what happens when Brandon, short notices us, Brandon, so I can blame him. There we go. Hey, Coach. So Montana State got a chance to visit the White House, and of course we don't do politics here, but Coach, I'm sure it was a thrill for some of those folks to get to Washington, D.C. and this part of the country and visit the White House. It's a historic area, regardless of your politics, and congratulations to them. Congratulations to Coach Vegan and that team, and hello, Barry from North Carolina. Great to see you. And no, there's not a way to post pics in the chat, unfortunately, not for this, Brandon, but if you've got a photo, let me know, and DM. I think you have. You can DM me, and I'll pop it in if we can. But Coach Jackson, just it's great that an FCS football team got to visit the White House. A little bit of national news, and congratulations to them. They're being recognized as national champions. Pretty cool.
Well, you know what, just like you say, regardless to whatever your political affiliations or anything like that, it is an absolute honor to go up there and shake hands with the president. I mean, if you don't like him, flip him off or something like that. But dude, you got to go. You have to. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I'm happy for those young men. I can't remember when another FCS team has been honored at the White House for a championship. Not for a football championship
Yeah,
anyway. So
I was thinking the same thing.
yeah, that's a tremendous honor. My mother lives in the DMV area, so I'm very familiar with Washington D.C. There's a lot of sites, a lot of things to see. So dude, I'm sure they had a fantastic time while they was out there. Happy for them guys.
I hope they did. Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be one of the most thrilling things just to be in Washington, D.C. And I got a chance to grow up in the Chesapeake Bay area. And we got a chance. I was lucky enough to go on field trips to Washington, D.C., every year in Richmond and Williamsburg. And it is a beautiful part of the country. And that is very, very cool for them. So congratulations to Montana State for being out there and visiting the president. We had a media day start this week. It is the NEC Media Days, and let's see. I have a thing. So I'm gonna pop this in here, Coach Jackson. Here we go. Oops and daisy. Put it up here. Preseason poll, no surprise here, Coach. Central Connecticut and Duquesne, 1 and 2. They battled it out all last year. LIU Sharks, they've done some things. They had some good wins. Wagner, Mercyhurst, Robert Morris has fallen off big time. Stonehill and New Haven. Of course, New Haven joined the FCS last year. Chicago State is going to be in the NEC. They're playing a, what would you call the, let me publish this. They're playing a hybrid schedule, so it's not going to count, not an officially an FCS, not going to be in the coaches poll. But we had a great time watching Central Connecticut and Duquesne there towards the end of the season, and they're at media days. No surprise here in the preseason poll, I don't think.
Yeah, no, and listen, Central Connecticut's come a long way in the last 3 or 4 years. I remember when that, but on another note, that conference has to have the largest collection of the smallest stadiums on the planet.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
dude, I hate Duquesne don't hold but about 2,000 people. Central Connecticut don't hold but about, and you got some good football going on. So yeah, you want them, and I ain't never been to a game there, so I don't really know what the support's like. But somebody start old GoFundMe and get some stadiums going up in that part of the country.
Well, Chicago State's going to be playing in basically an MLS stadium, Major League Soccer stadium, and where was it Chicago Fire, I think. Listen,
That's tough.
They're gonna have to fill that sucker. Now it's a great area for football with Illinois, Northern Illinois, and all those teams over there. But can Chicago State pull the numbers? I don't know. NEC may not be one of the best FCS conferences, but it is super competitive. Yeah, and Stephen McKenzie talking about the NEC is not only competitive, but you never know. And it went down to the last game of the season last year. Duquesne really, in my opinion, probably should have won that conference. It came down to the last game. They played head-to-head, and Central Connecticut picked up the win. So that's what was happening with the media days. If I can do this without turning everything off. Let's see. Here we go, Coach. We'll get back to this. Around the FCS, one thing that I always like to honor is the SIDs. And I was watching the Big Sky. Mike Lund retires after 37 years at Portland State as the SID. What an incredible career he has had. He got a chance to get a little FaceTime there at the Big Sky Media Days. But if you don't know what a sports information director is, usually they come in at 18 or 19 years old and make probably less than $16,000 a year, and they're assigned the worst sports, and they got to travel so much and be away from home, and then finally you start making a little bit of money, and they are beyond their weight in gold for a program. And Coach, you've got a chance to experience. We've reached out to SIDs. We reached out to SIDs constantly throughout the years, throughout the season rather, and sometimes they don't send us messages back. They don't reply. We're trying to give them their program some publicity. I mean, we get 300 or 400 people watching the podcast, but that's probably more than, they're getting clicks on their Instagram and stuff, and get their head coach talking about their team and give them some publicity, and they don't even email us back. Mike Lund was somebody who always sent us messages back, always coordinated with us if we wanted to get a player on or talk to a head coach, and if they couldn't come on, he was still responsive. So I just wanted to recognize him. 37 years, that is a significant amount of time, and congratulations to Mike Lund. Another story that came out of the Big Sky Media Days was Devin Brown for Weber State. We don't get a chance to talk about Weber State very often, and we're going to do a deep dive, so I'm not going to jump too much into it, but if you get a chance to go to or watch the Big Sky Media Days, Devin Brown has a relationship with a new head coach there for Weber State, and he's going to be their starting quarterback. And Coach, it's a fascinating story. I'm going to pull up his bio here real quick as we're talking, but a school like Weber State, it needs a good quarterback, Coach, and to have someone that's familiar with their head coach, and Weber State's trying to build, I imagine a connection between a head coach and a quarterback is very comforting, especially a brand new head coach at Weber State who's trying to get their mojo back.
Yeah, well, you got to build from somewhere, and you got to start from somewhere. Most coaches are going to like building around their quarterback, and honestly, familiarity. What it does for a team is, listen. I know your terminology.
Yeah, that's right.
I know the offense. I know what we should check to in this situation. If you're starting from scratch, I put it this way: if you're starting with a freshman quarterback and no familiarity or anything like that, you're gonna have the most vanilla offense you've ever seen the first time around, because there's so much happening. There's so much that they've got to get done. You would rather have a basic play executed well as opposed to a dynamic play that you got 10 players going in opposite directions.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you this. He played at Corner Canyon High School in Draper, Utah. He went out of high school, goes to Ohio State as part of the Buckeyes national championship team in 2024. He transfers to Cal last year, saw 9 games with the Golden Bears. He has now ended up as a graduate student. He's pursuing his master's in the sports leadership category, and he's going to be the starting quarterback, and he was there for media day. Watch out for this kid, Coach. You know, sometimes when we get a chance to see some of these coaches and some of these players, rather, just the way they talk, you can see the confidence in them. This kid's got it, and I'm really excited to watch him. And how about that, bringing that FBS to an FCS school that needs that? What would you call that? Needs that leadership. They just need it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
watch
Well,
Devin Brown.
I say this. There's a few schools around the FCS that it's better when they're good. Weber State is one that I'd put in that category. So yeah, we should watch that kid. I hope he has a fantastic season. He's played big time ball, so he should be a good leader.
Yeah,
Uh, kid,
absolutely.
kids ought to draw to him. He ought to be able to. He's what Weber State needs right now.
Yeah. And G6 FB 247. Yeah, he played for Eric. Is it Carr? I can't remember how they pronounced his name during the thing, but in high school. And so I think it's gonna be fun. Weber State and Southern Utah week 1 definitely getting kicked on, starting. Speaking of superstars that transfer sometimes in, hey Brandon, how the babies? You get some babies down in for night.
Well, I'm watching them on the iPad right here, so we'll see how
Technology.
long this lasts.
I like it. We're talking about this young man, Devin Brown, who transferred from Ohio State to Cal now to Weber State, who's trying to rebuild their program. It's all coming out of the Big Sky Media Days, which we're going to be doing a deep dive. Care is how they pronounce his last name, Colby. Yeah, there's Brandon. Brandon Haddock is your biggest fan, by the way. He's like, where's Brandon? There he is. We got him.
Nice game.
Also coming out was this Cal Poly Madden Center, the John Madden Center. Of course, most of us know John Madden because he played football in Oakland and was the head coach in the video game and all that good stuff. And I didn't even really think about his connection there at Cal Poly, but apparently his family and his estate was such that they wanted to leave a legacy mark there at Cal Poly. And they have built this Madden Center for the athletes, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Go check it out. Just some of those things that came out of the Big Sky Media Day. And Coach, you were talking about facilities a minute ago there in the NEC. You know, California, Cal Poly, not really known for like their big time facilities, but having a center like that, that's something special. And with a name like that, very recognizable.
I can tell you over the last 4 or 5 years, there've been several teams that have upgraded their locker rooms or made some, upgrade their stadiums. Take North Alabama to the look on those kids' faces when they
Yeah.
walk into that new facility is priceless. And literally, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know at LSU they got the $15 million locker room or anything like that, and they probably don't care. But the kids at Cal Poly are going to take that thing serious. I remember when who was it? Rio Grande Valley got their facilities. Those kids were absolutely over the moon. So anytime that happens, dude, that is fantastic. I wish more FCS schools would sink the money in and upgrade their facilities.
Yeah, Ron Lowney checking in saying, hey, Cal Poly has some good engineers. Yeah, they do. That's what they're known for as far as education goes. But, Brandon, when you have a name like John Madden all of a sudden associated with your program here at the FCS, it's kind of like Walter Payton, Jerry Rice Award, Buck Buchanan, now John Madden Center there at Cal Poly. Man, it can really have a positive impact for your football program in the long run.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I think I want to say John Madden had a brother, or maybe it's one of his kids, that still like maintains the estate or whatever for John. It may even be his wife there, but ties that area, and I think people forget about John Madden, like, you know, coaching the Oakland Raiders. He was a very hyper local guy to that region, to that area. So really, really cool for them, and to get that leg up. I mean, every little bit helps. And you guys mentioned like LSU, you can go to any SEC schools. The facilities are relatively close in what you get across the board. Where you start to see the differences, especially at the FCS level, there is a true have versus have not that shows, and it could be a benefit. If it gets you, let's say, 3 or 4 better kids, that could over time extrapolate out to making you a better program from top to bottom. And those little things go a long way with a lot of these kids. You have some kids that go from a high school in certain areas in certain parts of California that goes to see these FCS programs, and it's a step down facility wise.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's huge for them.
Yeah, Ron Lowney just saying that the UC Davis has raised over $300 million to upgrade their facilities, and it makes me a little nervous when you hear something like that, because you think about that FBS jump, like, you know, Sacramento State, you know, they put a lot of money in trying to upgrade their facilities, and, you know, the rumor is that UC Davis wants to do the same thing, but we'll see how it goes. One of the things we're going to be doing, do what? Oh, I hear like a background noise.
Oh, I was froze for a second, so you unfroze me.
Oh yeah, you know, unfroze you. I can hear me coming through somewhere, but I'm not sure if it's fine. We're going to take a deep dive, Brandon, into the Big Sky, every team here in the Big Sky, because I think it's probably the most competitive, and I think we have a lot of fans in that side of the country that we don't get a chance to talk about a lot of these teams. There's 2 teams, obviously, Montana State, and UC Davis. Some of those teams we're constantly talking about. But let's take a look at Utah Tech Blazers. Obviously, coming from United Athletic Conference, went 2-10 last year. The head coach, Lance Anderson, in his 3rd season. This is the season for Coach Anderson that you're kind of expecting some change. And of course, it used to be because the 4-year rule coming in, and that's when kids would mature and then stay with your program, and mature and stay with your program. That's not the case anymore. They do have a good quarterback competition. CJ Tiller was brought in for the Trailblazers to compete, but honestly, this is going to be a really, really tough move for Utah Tech, in my opinion. You just got a lot of stuff going on with got the national champion Utah Tech at the bottom of the UAC, which is obviously a good conference, but not what the Big Sky is. And Brandon, I'll let you jump in here real quick. You're starting with Montana State. You got a tough schedule. You're at Montana as well. Utah Tech, what do they need to do to not only start off the Big Sky in a better than we may expect, but maybe stake a claim to the direction they're going here in 2026?
You know, if Lance Anderson was on this show, he'd say that he felt that he had an opportunity to compete at home against Montana State. That's not true. He would say that he feels that they have an opportunity to compete on the road against Montana. That's not true. So you're going to start off 0-3 in all likelihood. I mean, Mike Norvell and Florida State, they started off 1-0, and they were what they were last year. So, I mean, anything can happen. A good football team can not show up, and a less than good football team can win a football game. But I don't think Utah Tech is going to be anything better than 0-3 to start the year. So what you do in those 3 games is you have to learn who you are. You have to learn the resolve. It's an immediate test on the locker room. If you go in there in that first half against Montana State and you're getting drilled by 28 points, how do those guys respond? How do those guys respond going, I mean, albeit in state to Provo? They got to have something to prove. There's a lot of kids that they probably in some way or another paths crossed, whether they played together in high school and those kids went to BYU and you went to Utah Tech. So it's going to be about that resolve that you look each other in the eyes and you go, okay, these are the tough times. How do we rebound? How do we fight through? That's what you try to learn about those teams. You try to learn who are the leaders and who are the quitters. I think that's the takeaway. You're probably, in my opinion, all likely are going to be 0-3. So you have to learn about what works as a coach, what works in terms of how do you push those buttons, how do you motivate, how do you practice, but more importantly, you learn about that locker room. You learn, who are the guys that I want to be, for lack of a better term, with the captains on their chest, walking out to handle the coin flip. I learned my leaders in those games.
Yeah, and Coach, this is where leadership comes in, because you're starting with Montana State, and you're probably going to get whooped. They're going to be fired up, kicking on all cylinders right at start off the season because of where they came in and the tools they're coming back with. But it doesn't get any easier after Montana, by the way. Northern Arizona, then you go to Northern Colorado, a much improved team under Ed Lamb. Southern Utah. Brandon Haddock said they're not going to be the dead last in the conference, but they're not going to be first, obviously. Portland State, you might have, and we'll talk about them next. You might have a chance to, let's see, do they even play Portland State?
Dude, there's 13 teams in that conference. They may not even play. Yeah,
they do. They actually play Portland State on October 10th, and then Cal Poly. If you could string a couple of those wins together, because you finished the season, Idaho State, UC Davis, Eastern Washington, who I think is going to be much improved, and Weber State, another team that's going to be much improved. So tough sledding for Utah Tech. What are you going in as a head coach thinking about for this? Some chats getting, I love it. Chats keep going off. For Utah Tech, obviously new conference. You can use that excuse here for the first season to get your feet underneath you, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, I tell you what. Here's some good things about Utah Tech. It's a beautiful area. They got a nice stadium that they don't have a whole lot of support. Last time I was up there was homecoming, and they did homecoming up on some video boards. It's probably the lamest homecoming I've ever been to in my life.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, but they have decent, but it's a gorgeous stadium. So that's where you start. But
it's a gorgeous part of the country. I mean,
yeah. The flip side of that is how many Division I FCS and FBS programs are in Utah. And so you got to figure out, where they're recruiting. They're probably coming in at least fourth or fifth on every single person in their state. And then I don't know what would attract folks to Utah. It's definitely not Cracker Barrel. I went there and ordered a country ham and biscuit, and they didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell them except for you're going to have to get creative. And maybe they hit the transfer portal a little bit harder, but they're just gonna have to get creative.
I think they're gonna have to do something with the logo too. The UT, it ain't working for me.
Lit.
Trailblazers is a great name. Lit. It looks like a what?
It looks like lit. LIT.
It does look like lit.
And if you go to the stadium, if you go to the stadium in the background, I think they still got the old Dixie Tech logo or something like that.
I think it's like a big D.
It's on the mountain.
Yeah, it is.
On the mountain.
It is. Yeah.
Someone's got to get crazy. Up there and get it. Yeah. All right. Utah Tech, it's going to be a tough one. We wish Lance Anderson the best as we turn our focus now to Portland State. Another program, listen, that a couple years ago, they were picking up some good wins in the conference, and surprising a couple people. They're going to have a new staff, new roster overhaul here. Don't really know what you're going to get out of Portland State. This is where I think Utah Tech might have some leverage when it comes to playing Portland. But listen, this is gonna be another tough season for Portland State. I have a feeling you got some fresh blood in there. You got a returning wide receiver group that's okay. Running back Thompson, who's returning as well, had a pretty good season, but there's just still too many questions for Portland State. And again, Brandon, I'll go to you. The strengths of the program has got Chris Fink. He's a proven winner. Someone mentioned in the chat he deserves better, but you got to get this team back on track. You got to get Portland State back on track. And I think Coach Jackson mentioned it earlier, hitting that transfer portal. Portland's another part of the country that you think people are going to want to go play in, and you got to find a way to attract those players. And playing in Big Sky, got the national championship now. Competition breeds competition. We'll see how it goes. What are your thoughts here on Portland State?
Yeah, they're an 0-4 program. They start off UC Davis, and they play FBS San Diego State, then North Dakota, and then on the road at Oregon. They're going to be two teams, tune-up matchups. They're going to get blown out. For Chris Fisk in his first year, it's what do? You come in there with a bad program. It's not like it was a great program that lost their coaching staff to the FBS or whatnot. No, this was a bad program that fired their staff and brought in a new one. No disrespect to the players in there. That doesn't mean that you necessarily have great players coming in. He's a very accomplished coach. I've seen the comments about him in the chat. History of being an offensive coordinator. This year is, you can't get much worse than 1-11. You're probably going to be on par, in or about to be 1-11 again. It is about trying to reset the culture there. It is about putting some product on the field that you can take, showing at least sparkles of what will work offensively, so he can go get himself, people that fit a little bit better into a system, whether it's quarterback, offensive line, and things like that. Because, it ain't going to be much to have a step up than what you had last year. And again, they play Utah Tech. So if you believe Utah Tech's the worst team, Portland State's the second worst team, there's your 1-11 right there if Portland State holds serve. So it's not going to be too much of an improvement there, but it's more of a foundational year for the Vikings.
They got a kid coming in from Mount San Antonio College named, his name is, what's his name? Hunter Herrera. Looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback there. He threw for 11 touchdowns, over 1,300 yards. Last year's starting quarterback, the John Ku Sagapoloete, is returning, but he did not have a good season. A lot of hype coming out of him because he transferred in, but it looks like he may lose his job.
Yeah, he has a sibling that plays football.
That's a good point. Well, I was going to say, Coach Jackson, translating Mount San Antonio College to Big Sky. I know it can happen, but what are your initial thoughts on having a quarterback that comes in and played at a Division III level? I think this is what Mount San Antonio College is. Now to Big Sky, FCS Division I college football.
He's going to see a lot of homecoming queens and kings. That's what it is. I would imagine whoever they play first, it'll be their homecoming. Every away game they play is probably homecoming for the other team. First of all, first thing he's going to see is different speed, different size. I hope that they can protect their quarterback. But he's gonna learn fast. I can tell you that. Some in the away game is gonna be kind of tough.
Yeah. Well, we assume this is going to be a tough season again for Portland State and all the Vikes fans that are out there. We wish you all the best, but got some work to do. Definitely got some work to do. All right, up next we got Cal Poly. We talked about the John Madden Center. Well, obviously it's more than football up there. And, this is a program that's been around for a long time, and it's a proud football program. But they haven't been very good of late. So, and of course, another big Sky conference. It's a tough place to play. By the way, the reason I went full screen on this is because there's a lot of text on this that I wanted to at least let Coach Jackson, if he had his spectacles on, he could see it. Tim Skipper,
I'm trying my best.
Tim Skipper is going to be the first season as the head coach there in Cal Poly. 4-8 a season ago, preseason 11th in coaches poll, 9th in media polls. Skipper added 39 newcomers through the portal, including Hawaii transfer quarterback DeMarcus Davis, who has a lot of hype around this young man. And then Mikey Diamato, team leader in tackles, is returning, physically instinctive, reliable. He's going to anchor that defense. And I think their schedule is obviously Big Sky. It's tough, But you've got a home opener against Idaho. And Idaho, I think, is a program that's probably still trying to find and gel with a lot of really good pieces. We'll talk about them. They do go to Northern Arizona. Tough matchup at Colorado State, Weber State, Montana, Grizz, UC Davis, and then they wind out the season. But new staff chemistry, Brandon, I'm wondering how much you can rely on a first-year head coach to kind of make a difference. That John Madden Center is going to be awesome. They've got some new recruits in there. But again, it just goes back to the challenge of this Big Sky and how do you compete in this conference when you feel like you're just getting gut punched year after year after year.
Yeah, DeMarcus Davis is a very interesting piece for me. He is a quarterback. He's a lot like Jaden Rashada last year at Sac State. A highly touted quarterback. I believe he was top 20 in terms of recruits or coming out of high school. He went to Washington. DeBoer leaves, goes to Alabama. DeMarcus Davis transfers to UCLA. After that, doesn't really see much playing time. UCLA has their own situation going on there. The Deshaun Foster hire, how that obviously wasn't going to work early on in the program. Situation there at quarterback. And then Nico Imaliava comes in, and just DeMarcus Davis goes to Hawaii. Doesn't really play much in Hawaii. Timmy Chang runs a very unique system. So there is benefit to, being in that program. So he transfers out, goes to Cal Poly. I say that very long-winded to say this is a kid with a lot of talent, but he's also a kid that has not seen the field for the better part of 3 years.
Yeah.
In terms of meaningful snaps. So can he be the guy? Can he be the starting quarterback? If he lives up to the potential that he had coming out of high school, Cal Poly has a chance to have a quarterback that could be, one of the top 5 or 6 in the conference. But again, like Jaden Rashada, didn't play for the better part of a couple of years. It doesn't always work out, especially early on. When you take a kid that has not been in that situation where he's under fire, having to make reads, having to react, and then you put him in that situation, doesn't go well to start. So I think that's going to be the key for them. If DeMarcus Davis can stay on the field, and I mean that not from a health standpoint, but for being a producer for them, they will have some chance to win some games.
Yeah, and I think those games, and Stephen McKenzie popped it in, that Idaho game, I think is – really a big opportunity for them, because I think Idaho's on the up and up. A lot of people feel like they're going to recover from the Coach Eck era, and he's gone, and now we're rebuilding and kind of a different team completely. If you can knock off that team and get some momentum going in Northern Arizona, that is going to be that could be a difference maker, Coach Jackson. Just finding a way to build some momentum.
Well, a couple of years, about 3 or 4 years ago, Cal Poly was pitiful. And they've taken incremental steps and incremental steps. Now, I hope our audience don't fact check me or nothing like that. But Idaho, when they dropped down in the FCS, they had a couple of good years, but they hadn't really had a winning season in 2 or 3 years, best I remember. So
when Jason Eck left, it left a big impact. Of course, he took a lot of people him to New Mexico. So, they've been rebuilding since then. And they also had that young quarterback who was, I think, Walter Payton watch list, and then he bounced after a year or so. And didn't show up anywhere else. So, but yeah, you're right, Coach.
If they can start off 3-0, I think they can beat Idaho. Quite honestly, I think the Northern Arizona game's probably going to be pretty competitive. The Northern Colorado game's going to be pretty competitive. If they can come into Weber State 2-1, or I'll put it this way: if they can leave Weber State 3-1, it really won't matter that tail kicking they're going to get the next couple of weeks, and really concentrate. Put together a good and have a winning season. That's what I think would be a step in the right direction for Cal Poly.
Yeah, definitely putting some winning wins in that column are important for Cal Poly. And DeMarcus Davis is going to be an interesting story to watch.
Yeah, really quick on Cal Poly. Just looked it up. Their new head coach is Tim Skipper. He was the interim coach at UCLA after they fired Deshaun Foster. So Tim Skipper does have some ties with DeMarcus Davis. There going back to when DeMarcus Davis was at UCLA. So, you have a little bit of synergy. At least there's that, familiar face, not totally blind. Another thing is the transition from the option. the spread triple op, and they ran a spread trip op there previously under Cal Poly. It's going to be different personnel there. I know for Tim Skipper, they're going to run a little bit more of a traditional what you see out west, like the Oregon, the UCLA's tempo, try to speed it up. Some of those guys will translate just based on the fact that they'll be a little leaner, a little bit lighter, can probably be on the field for a little bit more snaps. You're not trying to go from, triple option to, SEC run the football down your throat with, 400-pound linemen, but there's going to be a little bit of transition, at least on the offensive line as well for them.
We will see. It's going to be fun, and I like Mikey D'Amato. Defenses, I think, always is where it starts if you want to build a champion. All right, up next, we've got Northern Colorado. 4 wins last year. Ed Lamb, head coach. We like Coach Lamb. He's been on the show. We talked to him. Their preseason picked 11th and 10th, respectively. Media poll, 11th, 10th for the coaches poll. He continues to push this Northern Colorado team, which was kind of a laughing stock. They went 0-something a couple years ago, but they're bringing in some talent there, Northern Colorado. All of a sudden, you got to think that this team might be competing for a couple wins here and there. Their O-line returns almost all of its experience from a season ago, and the trenches where the battle is important. Defense is the same way. Their trenches are going to be huge. Their opener at Weber State, I think you can kind of say the same thing for Northern Colorado. If you could put a win together and build some momentum, you might be a team that flies under the radar a little bit, Coach Jackson.
Yeah, sure can. But again, they got to get them wins early in the season. But again, they're kind of on the same trajectory with Cal Poly.
Yeah,
they was pitiful a couple of years ago. They've gotten a little bit better. I expect them to compete in the middle part of the conference. I don't think they're a bottom feeder. I definitely don't think they're in the top third, but I think they'll be very competitive in the middle of that conference.
Keegan Patterson's going to come in from Indiana State and be a senior, taking the reins. He's about a 60% completion kind of thrower. Had over 200 yards passing in a game against the Sycamores. Matter of fact, the last 3 contests, he threw close to 300 yards per game. He has now moved over to Northern Colorado. Got to start with a quarterback, but again, you're retooling a lot of some of those key pieces, running back, a wide receiver, maybe a linebacker or 2 here, Brandon. But if you can find the pieces, Ed Lamb's got the experience, and he's shown he can move the needle a little bit.
Yeah, but the way I think the Weber State game will be very much how we dictate this team moving forward. I don't see many games the way the schedule plays out. You go in there and go, Northern Colorado is going to be the favorite. There may be 3 games you look at and go, okay, they legitimately can win the game. Just line them up, play ball, they can win the game outright. Every other game, it's if for them. Yeah. And that's not really a way to win these games. I mean, this is a team that will play teams really close no matter what. And for me, the way that I envision this Northern Colorado team looking is every win is going to be a close win. Every loss is probably going to be a blowout. So I think that's what worries me about this team is, yeah, they have made little steps, but it hasn't been in the way where you go, okay, that's a sustainable thing. Yeah, they've played really well on the offensive line, but then you go bring in a new quarterback and have to figure everything else out. So unless you tell me they're going to run the ball and, possess the ball for 38 minutes, 40 minutes a game to win a football game, I mean, I don't know how you can go into any contest and go, okay, they're clear-cut going to win the game. So they have a potential, in my mind, to win 4, maybe 5 games.
Yeah, Weber State, South Dakota, 1-2 on that schedule. You're going to have a tough time because you're going to FBS, Wyoming, and then after that you come home to face Northeastern State, a non-FCS program, before
there's your win.
Yeah, maybe. Was it Central Connecticut or someone lost to an NAI school a couple of years ago? Then you got Utah Tech at home, then Montana, Eastern Washington on the road. Both of those games are really, really tough. So we shall see. Northern Colorado, rather, a team that's moving in the right direction, but still some work to do. We mentioned this team earlier because of Devin Brown, a great story. New head coach there at Weber State. Care is, I think, how we decided that it's pronounced. I do believe that's right. I think Brandon had hooked us up there. But Weber State's been bad for too long. This is a very storied program. 4-8 last year, 2-6 in the Big Sky, 9th and 10th in the preseason poll, respectively. Eric Care brings his new experience over, new quarterback there in Devin Brown, experience at Ohio State, experience at Cal. They also had that strong connection in high school. They also have some returners, but not enough. This is going to be a totally rebuilt program, and I think their schedule actually is favorable to them. But Weber State, again, has been bad for too long. And you're just kind of, well, you could see this coming, Brandon. Wasn't this team that was like, they had expectation, but always had bad losses like late in the season. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm not picking Weber State anymore. They just can't get it done. And that was like the fall of this program. And they've gone through now on their third head coach since making the playoffs a couple years ago.
Yeah, there was a belief in actuality with the Wildcats for a long time. Everybody around that program believed that they were one of the top tier teams in the FCS, and the actuality were they weren't. They lost every big game they came across them, and then they won some big games that they probably should have lost as well. So I just believe that for Weber State, it was always that false belief, especially within the program of, we're somebody that we're not. And that has really set them back in the ability to actually build a program. Devin Brown, very good quarterback coming out of high school, ties to the Utah area. He started in Arizona, then I believe finished his high school career in the state of Utah. So, I mean, familiar with the area. He's not somebody you have to come in and worry about, the fact that it could be 6 degrees in a late season game. And that's really a fact. Some of these guys, a frozen football that they have to deal with. Also, if he comes in there and he tries to prove something, because remember, he was supposed to be the guy, at least one of the guys at Ohio State, and he comes in, he gets mop-up duty his second year there, ends up leaving after not playing for a whole nother year, goes to Cal, doesn't play there because you mentioned, the crew. I don't even want to mess up his last name. The brother Jaron is at Cal. JWS is JKS is the starter there at Cal. He doesn't see the field there except for some mop-up duty. So everything about him. He has a chip on his shoulder. He has a little bit of swag. He wore 33 at Ohio State. You have to have a little bit of swag about you.
He's wearing 33. He's wearing 33 here too.
So we'll see if he lives up to the hype there. But he has a lot to prove. I mean, this is going to be his shot to show that he is a viable quarterback. But he hasn't had many opportunities to do that other than running the football. And now for Weber State, that gives him a versatile quarterback that may not have necessarily had consistently a true quarterback that they can trust running the ball. So that allowed him to be a little more dynamic on offense.
So Steve McKenzie in the chat says, "Do we like the Weber Wildcat?" I assume you mean the logo, not the mascot. I like the mascot. I think it's a great looking logo. It's certainly better than some of the other logos that we have seen in our time. But Coach Jackson, first thoughts. What do you think about the Wildcat, and then what do you think about Weber State football?
Well, for Weber State football, I need them to get back to being king of the fat folk. Brandon's right. They're not upper. They're not even upper division of their own conference, much less of the entire FCS. But I need them to get back to at least dominating 3 or 4 through 15 in that conference. The FCS is better when Weber State is better. But they kind of remind me of Nickel State. Now, as far as the logo, I mean, it looks like you see Tom and Jerry, and when he gets the finger caught in the electric socket, that's kind of what that looks like to me. So I'm not as hyped on the logo as you are, but yes, to answer your question,
I'm not saying I'm hyped about it. I just said it's better than some we've seen.
Well, I mean that dude, that's laying the bar on the ground, though. Yes, it is definitely better than that awkward offset Y that you got at Youngstown State, but it doesn't do much. It's middle of the road. It's mid. But as far as their football goes, I need them to get back into the conversation to where we were the last team out of the playoffs, and that'll make the FCS better too.
G6 FBS 247 has basically summed up beautifully where we're going with this in the Big Sky. And unfortunately, Weber State has been bad. Eastern Washington has fallen off the cliff. Cal Poly, Utah Tech, Portland State, UNC Bears, Idaho was bad last season, etc. The Big Sky has excessive bad programs. We're getting to the good programs, but some of these programs, they have been on the cusp, and we're getting to some of those that might be dark horse or sleeper type programs that might win a game or two that you didn't expect. So, but I think that sums it up perfectly. The Big Sky's got feast or famine, but the top feast. It's a feast, Jack. They're feasting really well. Absolutely. Okay. What are we talking about here? Where are we going? We're going to go to Inferno. It's Eastern Washington. Team Outlook, another program that seems like we can say this about so many of these programs that once upon a time was pretty good. People did not want to go to play in Eastern Washington. They were 5-7 last year, 4-4 in the Big Sky. Aaron Best is a name that we've talked about. We felt like him coming in. He's in his 10th season there at Eastern Washington. Something's got to give. You've got to get that program underway. They return a significant experience from 2026 and key roster upgrades also on defense. This should be interesting. Nate Bell should be their starting quarterback is the way it's kind of looking right now. They return 11 starters on offense. They return 11 starters, 33 letter winners, strong defensive core led by Jalen Jenkins and defensive tackle Isaiah Perez. They will use the portal to bring some folks in. But again, this is a program that I think is that middle tier, dangerous-ish, but G6 says it again. Should Aaron Best be fired by now? This might be his last chance, Brandon.
They are the walking definition of mid. I mean, 2021 was the last time they made the playoff, and that was Eric Barriere, his last year there with Eastern Washington. Yep. So the inability to be able to replenish talent. You had a 10-3 season right there, and looking like all the cups to being, one of those teams that remained at the upper, at least part of the Big Sky. There was always going to be the Montana, even Montana State. Remember, Montana State was kind of on that bottom end of the upper tier. We gave Sac State had a lot of run in there as maybe the second or third best team in there, and then Montana State was always mixed in there, and they got magic, especially in the run with Tommy Mellott there, where they came out of, especially the first year of Tommy Mellott. So Eastern Washington was always part of that conversation. But you take a look at the record since that Eric Barriere year, 3-8, 4-7, 4-8, 5-7. Yeah, I don't like calling for people to get fired. But for another season, this would, if they miss the playoffs, which, I mean, they probably will. But more importantly, if you only win 4 or 5 games, I don't see how you can continue doing this going like this is working. It's obviously not working at this point. And the schedule, it's kind of, if you take a look at their schedule last year, and this is overwhelming the problem with a lot of these lower Big Sky teams. I think somebody said in the chat, just the money games, the way that they fall out is a lot of these teams start 0-2, 0-3, 0-4, maybe, 1-4, 1-3. Not a good thing to get into vibe, a rhythm for a team when you're not that much better than any competition you face. So that record does play a factor in there. For Eastern Washington, it's going to be more of the same there. You have a lot of good home games this year. I think last year you played a lot of your toughest games on the road, but Montana State comes in. Cal Poly comes in this year. You got to win the home games at least to start. You have a very favorable home set stretch. You even get Montana at home. So that month of October, Northern Colorado, Montana State, Montana at home. You got to win those games, or else I don't think Aaron Best will be the leader of this program moving forward.
Ron Lowry said he watches the games in black and white. Having like a red field is kind of like wearing number 33 as a quarterback. It's like a look at me moment, and it ain't.
It's lame. just absolutely lame.
It's and anyway. Coach
Listen,
Jackson, this Eastern Washington team, a lot of these folks saying that they're not putting money into their program. That's a problem. They did have some success in the transfer portal. Again, a storied program with a terrible logo that needs to change. But because the Eagle has to face backwards in order for it to see EWU on one side of their helmet, the Eagles flip flop. But it's a problem for Eastern Washington because they've been around the program. They've been around FCS football for a long time, and they were a champion level program, but haven't been in a long time. And the dust is settling on those trophies.
Yeah, very, very proud program. And unfortunately, I told you I was going to be a little more positive this week, but unfortunately, I'm about to make sure that the SID at Eastern Washington probably ain't never going to call you back. Yes, they don't spend a whole lot of money. If you had a whole lot of money, would you buy red carpet for your flipping stadium? No. Would you have a uniform or a logo that you got to be high to tell what it even said? That one and the one at what is it, Arkansas Pine
Pine
Bluff, where you
Bluff.
got to see the letters in the main. Dude, that is
Yeah.
who is playing Jedi
Funkadelic,
mind
that's for
tricks
sure.
with
That's your style, though.
dude. Well, I like Maggot Brain. I like Parliament Funkadelic, but I don't want Parliament Funkadelic on my helmets.
Got it.
That it. I wish they would get back to being champions instead of crayons.
Yeah.
Uh,
On the
get
field.
back get back to football. Hey, they had every little excuse, and there's no reason for Eastern Washington to be as bad as they've been for as long as they have been. So I'd like to see them get back, but I'd also like to see them get to regular turf. I'd also like to see them get to a logo that works worth a quarter. One that doesn't look backwards on the other side. Just be better.
Do you
Yeah.
know, or did you know, Boise State owns the trademark for non-green turf. So Eastern Washington, Central Arkansas, and every other team that does not use green turf must get written permission from Boise State to use it. And part of that permission says they will never use blue as a
Really?
non-traditional turf color. Boys will be the
Coastal
That is-
Carolina has a teal turf. I wonder if that classifies as green.
They had to get permission from Boise. Any team with a non-green colored AstroTurf has to get written permission from Boise State to use it.
That
I
is
wonder if
so
we-
lame. That's like a good-looking dude having to get permission for me to go to a tuxedo shop. That is lame.
I wonder.
Who in the world would want to do that? But
Yeah.
whatever.
They own the trademark for it.
Hey, you know what? Well, we're anyway. We can talk about it. Let's move on to Southern Utah Thunderbirds, and another new team here out of the UAC, 7-5 a season ago in the UAC, however, and. Listen, we love Delane Fitzgerald. He's been on the show many, many times. He's always dynamic. He's in his 5th season there, and he's brought in some really good talent over the past couple of years. He's done it again this year. The question is, has he done enough to compete in the Big Sky? They picked 6th and 7th, respectively, in the preseason polls. What does that mean? Not a whole lot, but he also has hired a veteran offensive line coach, Ron Hudson, who spent 30 years at the FBS level, including Penn State and Georgia Southern. He's got some great experience. They're working the trenches out, it looks like, but you need some other pieces, and your coaching staff is one thing. You got to bring in talent and recruit. They are going to have a quarterback competition. Noah Lungo is transfer in from UTSA. They do have a returning starter that looks like he'll probably get the start for day one. We'll see who his QB1 might be. But in my opinion, this is another team we can just kind of look at and go, not this year likely. They may upset a few people, but you're starting off with Montana State, and you might get your tank kicked in.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole idea with Ron Hudson and we talked about it when we were talking about Utah Tech. There's a lot of schools in that area. Not enough schools to garner the talent. So this is, something that Kalani Sitake did at BYU that I think Ron Hudson is being tasked with at Southern Utah is you take guys who may not be traditionally very good at offensive line and you make them good at offensive line through technique. You have a huge Samoan I'm trying to. You have a huge Samoan Mormon base in that area, and guys that are willing to come there, whether they're from the island of Samoa, if they're from Hawaii, they're already in Utah. You have a huge base there, and these guys love football and they love what it stands for and they love everything about it. And they are eager to learn and be coached. They don't get a lot of great coaching coming up. But they're eager to learn how to play football the right way. So the belief is if I can get a very good line coach, I can teach these boys how to play offensive line and give me a shot at the very least. If I can't recruit them, let me teach them. Let me coach them up that way. And I think that has been Kalani Sitake's calling card at BYU. He has very good line play with guys who are like 2 and 3 stars on the offensive line. So I think for Delane Fitzgerald, that's the motto. We can try to win a game if we can win in the trenches.
Coach Jackson, I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time on Southern Utah because we've got the top tier of this conference to get to, and we've been going almost an hour. But this team last year played 3 Big Sky programs: Idaho State, Northern Arizona, and Cal Davis. They were 0-3. I think that's a harbinger for what is coming for Southern Utah. They might finish there in that mid-table because I think they're better than some of the programs we're talking about. But competing for that next tier, Southern Utah doesn't have the cannons right now.
No, he got a bunch of squatty bodies. He got a lot of 4x4 dudes up front, and Brandon's right. They're gonna have to play together. The good thing is they will be well coached. I don't think I think they'll finish about middle of the pack, but that's just because everybody behind them is much worse.
And G6, correct me. Yeah, they beat Idaho State last year, 46-24 there in Cedar City, and then went 0-2 against Northern Arizona and Cal Davis. Thank you, G6, for keeping me honest. So still top tier. We'll see how it goes. Although Idaho State's going to be very good, and we're going to be talking about Idaho State next. We're going to go full screen again on this one, gentlemen. Whoops-a-daisy. Let me get that one out of here. It's the Idaho State, the dark horse of the Big Sky, in my opinion. Idaho State, this is a program that has been under the tutelage of Cody Hawkins now for 4 seasons. Offensive coordinator Buddy Blevins in his 2nd season. John Hughes in his 3rd season. Their defensive coordinator Grant Duff in his 2nd season. So they've got these guys coming back from a very good season last year. They're returning Dason Brooks, a great running back, had over 1,000 yards last year, 10 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 6.4 yards per carry. He is the real deal. They did lose Ryan Leathers, who was their leading tackler, transfers to Tulsa. But on offense, you see my position grades here. Jordan Cook, fantastic quarterback. Dason Brooks, a running back. Wide receiver, they lost some folks. They brought in Cheaton James, who is a transfer. We'll see how he works out. Offensive line, very solid. Defensive line, very solid. The linebacking and defensive back core is going to be your question mark. They also are going to have brand new punter and then a transfer, unrelated Logan McCreary coming from Oregon State. But this is a program put up 33 points per game last year, 27 points allowed. In my opinion, I think Idaho State is a program that is going to compete for probably top 3 or 4 positions here in the Big Sky. I really like this program. We reached out to Cody Hawkins to try and get him on the show. It didn't work out, but Idaho State. Brandon, what are you thinking?
Yeah, they'll be very good offensively. I just think, Cody Hawkins is a very, very good coach. You better enjoy him while you have him there at Idaho State. I think he will be a very hot commodity in an off season or two for maybe a coordinator spot at the FBS level. The schedule for them, I mean, you're going to be one of the few teams in the Big Sky to start off with wins because you do play VMI. Listen, Utah State, I know you got to go on the road to play the Mavericks. I mean, I don't think that you'll be that much worse than Utah State. That's not a very good football program. And then, the biggest problem for Idaho State is they play Utah Tech, which, I mean, it's on the road. It's going to be in early November. We'll see how that factors in. Remember, this is a team that plays in a dome. So anytime you got to magically go outside and play a game, especially when weather can be a factor, that could be an issue for them. But then you close out the year with 2 really tough games with Montana and Montana State back-to-back, and then Idaho, of course, to close it out. That's going to be the stretch that really determines whether or not this team is, 1, a playoff team, but 2, a team that, can maybe ruin other people's seasons as well.
Yeah.
If they go 2-1 in that, and you have to believe that they would be potentially looking at a playoff bid. But if they go 1-2, who are they beating? If it's Idaho, good on them. But if they beat a Montana or a Montana State, that could change, the pathway for one of those teams to potentially make a playoff. But I think this will be a team that will define their year by their last 3 games.
Coach Jackson, this is a team that's got big guys in the trenches. They're returning some experience. Really like what their quarterback's doing. They got a run game. Your thoughts here on Idaho State?
Listen, I've read it. I've heard it. I'd like to see it. That's as simple as it is for them. I like everything that I read and hear about them. I want to see it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Show me something. That's the name of the game. Up next. How about UC Davis, the Aggies? Big Sky contender? Maybe. Obviously, we love what Tim Pyle's doing. He's in his 3rd season. Phil Shelton, the offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator is Matt Combs, who's in his 7th season. It's a perennial winner there for the Big Sky. UC Davis has done a fantastic job. Despite a QB battle in camp, the Aggies return a ton of talent on both sides of the ball, led by wide receiver Samuel Bato Jr., tight end Winston Williams, and running back Jordan Fisher. They're going to anchor that offense along with Zaire Collier, who's on the offensive lines. Got Big Sky preseason All-American and Big Sky conference selections. Defensively, the Aggies return Rain Mayo Jr. and Porter Connors, as well as Rex Connors. And Coach Plow talked about during the media days how he had to get basically attorneys involved to get the Connors additional playing time, and how they were counting the game against Mercer and all kind of stuff. But this is a team that scored a lot of points last year, 32.4 points per game. Gone is Caden Pinnock. Their defense allowed way too many points. They rushed the ball well, but they also allowed a lot of passing yards. Their rush defense was 105th nationally. This is a big problem. I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to how much of a question this UC Davis defense might be against the run, because they've got a lot of great pieces there. But the stats don't lie, Brandon. They were not good against the run last year, and they allowed a lot of yards through the air as well.
Yeah, they're just hoping that they just perform a little bit better. This is not like a retool, revamp. Everything's in place. The scheme is still going to be the same. That 4-2-5 defense is still going to be the same, which a lot of teams right now, they try to be multiple with a 4-2-5, drop it to a 3-3-5. But the fact is, if you can't get up there in front, and you're going to be facing a lot of teams with a lot of better offensive line. Now, you don't get, you don't get Montana State this year. So that's one team that may be in the trenches that we're going to smack you around, isn't going to smack you around. But you do face a lot of other teams that are going to have I think a size advantage in the trenches. So if you can't stop the run, you're going to be in the same scenario, and you lose your quarterback. You bring in a quarterback, and I'm not sure if he's going to be the starter, the kid that transferred in from Minnesota Colic, but he's a little bit different type quarterback there for UC Davis than the kid that left. So I'll be interested to see how the offense flows. This is going to be a team that offensively, we know what they can do, and they have a favorable schedule, if I must say so, of looking at anybody in the Big Sky and how it shapes out. they have I would say, the most favorable of the schedules there for when they play teams and being home with that. So I mean, I don't know. I see this team. This could be, the fourth place team, the third place team in there, but they also could drop down and be 5 or 6 with ease as well if things don't go their way. They were a very good program with obvious flaws last year, going 6-2 in conference. I don't know if you corrected those flaws. Now,
Yeah.
can you get the same 6-2 result in conference? I don't know if that plays out that way.
Jackson Collick does look like he's going to be your starter, transferred in from Minnesota. And Ron Lowney says they have half dozen 3-star quarterbacks. But let me tell you, 3-star quarterbacks, to me, closer to 2-star, closer to 4-star. I mean, that's a big difference between 2 and 4. And just because there are 3-star quarterbacks, I mean, there's a dozen 3-star quarterbacks on a lot of rosters. But they did bring in offensive tight end Jacoby Houseworth from California and running back Chauncey Sylvester, who transferred from Weber State. Freshman Corbin Wade has good size and quickness off the defensive edge and could be a star in the Big Sky. So watch out for the name Corbin Wade. But Coach Jackson, your friend Steve McKenzie loves the logo. That's to begin with. But Kate, losing your starting quarterback, you allow a lot of points. You put up a lot of points. I don't know if the Aggies has the horses to compete. And I'm thinking team like a foot soldier team like Idaho State is going to beat a team like UC Davis. What are your thoughts?
Well, one of my thoughts is on that logo. I like it. It looks kind of like the old Minnesota Twins logo back when Rod Carew was playing. Here's the tough thing for Davis. They got a great coach. They got a great offense. I think they're much improved on defense. I think that they're a very hot team on an upward trajectory, and it's only good enough for them to be in third place. If they can't get by Montana, I mean, what are we doing here? They gotta. I mean, for me, they got to get over the hump and get over Montana, or literally, it's just another. I don't know what 10-2, 9-3 season.
Yeah.
Go second round of playoffs, get bounced.
Well, we'll see. Zach McKinnell, by the way, just in there says start the Jackson Collick Jerry Rice Award campaign. Okay. We'll see. Newcomer there in the FCS. We'll see how it goes. QBs will never be an issue under Tim Plow. Hey, I like it. He played quarterback there. He has a lot of investment in the position and the school because he played there. But we'll see. Despite how good Collick may be, you're playing in the Big Sky, some big time defenses as well. So big question mark for me in some of those key areas. So we'll see how it goes. Up next, we have we gone to Idaho? We have not done Idaho Vandals yet. Let's jump in and talk about the Vandals. Jason Eck era is gone. They've just got to let go of the Jason Eck era and understand that it ain't coming back. But they're under Thomas Ford for the second season. He did some good things. They're returning experienced core offensive pieces. They have dominant offensive line continuity. Running back Hayden Kinchlow is back. 5'10", 235-pounder. He's an absolute bruiser. Also, DeMonte Bias, and they brought in fullback Ferrari Miller into the mix. Should be interesting. Kibbe Dome is a tough place to play. They're returning all offensive liners, 4 of the 5 offensive liners, I should say. They had 17 or fewer sacks allowed in 2025, 71 tackles for Cruz Hepburn, who's returning tackler. Joshua Woods, 898 yards, 14 touchdowns at your starting quarterback. He's going to be back under center. Idaho, can they take that next step? Huge question mark, in my opinion. I think that some of the pieces are there. I just don't know if the pieces are as shiny as Idaho needs them to be, Brandon.
Thomas Ford is in his second season, has his second set of coordinators there. I may be pulling the ripcord and saying this isn't working after the first year. I don't know. I legitimately don't know. This is a team that could be, and you have to assume, this is at the very start a 3-bid league. I mean, probably looking potentially to get 4 in there. I don't know if we're talking about them in the playoffs. I don't think that this team, they have not shown me anything redeeming to go, hey, this team should be up there. This is a very I don't know. I just don't have a good, look at this team and go, okay, this is what I can see this team becoming. It's just very bland to me, honestly. I don't have that much faith in Idaho. Maybe they'll go out there and they'll prove me wrong, but there's second year, second set of coordinator. I don't know exactly what doesn't work with them, but it has not worked. And you would think that, and the coach's point, they haven't really been consistently good. Dropping down, they should have some sort of advantage. They have not shown that they have any other advantage other than a really good head coach in Jason Eck. Yeah. And once he left, they fell off a cliff.
Lamar and Abilene Christian, both very tough teams on their schedule for non-conference, adding to having to play Montana State. They go Weber State, Montana, Southern Utah, Portland State, Eastern Washington, UC Davis, and Idaho State to round it out. Coach Jackson, this is a pretty tough schedule. The non-conference, they did not shy away. Hopefully this doesn't mean Lamar and Abilene Christian are going to be in the Big Sky next year, as it did for Southern Utah. But what are you thinking about this Idaho team? Jason Eck era is gone. He had his own personality, and it was all over that team. Thomas Ford needs to put his personality on this football team.
Yeah, I think they've taken a big step. I just think it's backwards. I just have to echo what Brandon said, and I don't want to take up a whole lot of time because it's the same thing. To me, Idaho is a potato with butter. No bacon bits, no sour cream, no salt, no nut. They're just a buttered potato.
All right. I like the analogy. You got me hungry. All right, let's get into Montana Grizz. We're getting to the top of this conference here. A team, Bobby Kennedy, the new head coach. Out goes Bobby Houck. In comes Kennedy. He's been around the program a long time. They finished 13-2 last year. Both losses, by the way, came to eventual national championship Montana State. Kelly Ayotte is back as well as Eli Gilman in the backfield. Peyton Wing is back, a key piece on defense as they're it's retooling after losing some other significant pieces from 2025. Key losses along the offensive line scares me, and at wide receiver, big questions as far as what can this team do. Obviously, losing Michael Wortham he's a big name, but you got to find a way to replace him because Kelly Ayotte has got all the tools necessary to be a superstar. We know what Eli Gilman is. Not only do I like the kid on the football field, but his personality seems like it's just second to none, exactly what you want on your football team. But does Montana have what it takes to build? I mean, there's a lot of pieces that are missing, in my opinion, Brandon.
Yeah, but every time Montana seems to lose, they're able to replace. Now, they lost the most important piece, the identity of Montana, and that is the hugest factor in this, in losing Bobby Houck. And you made it seem like, oh man, he just kind of, they lost. No, he kind of, unceremoniously was like, I'm out of here, and then I'm done coaching, and then 72 hours later popped up at Brett Bielema's staff over in Illinois. The defense is going to be a big question.
With some folding money.
Yeah, with a lot more money to do a lot less work. The defense is going to be the biggest part for me. If they can retool, you lose coordinator, and I believe Houck's brother was the co-DC there last year, so you lose that pathway too as well. The defense is going to have to get an identity. I like what they did offensively. They left Brent Pease in place as offensive coordinator. Bobby Kennedy was a receivers coach, a longtime receivers coach at various different places. They promoted him to be the head coach. Let him deal with the minutia of all the other things you have to deal with as a head coach. He's never been a head coach before. That's always a factor. Talked about it every year. First-time head coaches are going to have some obstacles and a learning curve to get over. But also, this team is going to have to find an identity defensively, and I think that's going to be the biggest test for them. Offensively, they're going to be fine. I think they can also win games offensively while the defense figures themselves out. And I'm not talking it's going to take them 5-6 games. This is going to be a game at most to figure out who you are defensively. You may be working some guys in and out, but I mean, they start off Southern Utah, Drake, Utah Tech. Those 3 games, they'll still go 3-0. They should lose on the road at Oregon State. Oregon State ain't that good of a football program, I'll be honest right now. So there ain't no guarantee there. But this is a team that in the first 4 games, you're going to learn a lot about who they are. But again, for me, it has to start with first-time head coach and that defense. Get an identity in there, they'll be good.
Coach Jackson, the Grizz, obviously had a great season. You lose your head coach, some pieces returning. What's your general feeling on this football program?
I like them. I don't know that they've got what it takes to jump to that number 1 spot, but I think they solid number 2 in the Big Sky. I mean, yeah, you
always
got
like
a
a
new
good
coach,
solid number 2, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Now that I
Sorry.
think about that, but
Sorry.
the yeah, first year head coach with a experienced quarterback, that helps. First year coach with an experienced quarterback and an experienced running back helps. I think they're good up front. Defense, like Brandon said, is going to have to figure it out. But yeah, I like Montana State. I like Montana. I just don't quite like them as much as I like some other teams. But yeah, are they upper echelon in the FCS? Does a fat baby fart? Yes.
Yeah. Like
are-
Brandon said, get your feet underneath you against Southern Utah, Drake, and Utah Tech, and you might that momentum that might carry you through and gel that team. But I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No. That's exactly where I was going. I don't expect them to be. I don't expect them to be as good the first 2 or 3 games. I expect them to be them last 2 or 3 ball games. But yes, they are. If you're in the Big Sky and you got them on your schedule, watch out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to turn our focus to another kind of sleeper team, and it's the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. This is a program under Brian Wright, who they had been moving in the right direction. Was it Chris Ball, their previous head coach that left? I can't remember, but Brian Wright has come in, hit the ground running, brought in Ty Pennington, by the way, 6'2", 210 pounds. He's a senior this year, 2024 Big Sky newcomer of the year after transferring from Pittsburgh State, where Brian Wright came from, talking about that connection between head coach and quarterback. They scored 31.7 points per game. That was 29th nationally last year, but they allowed 31.3 points per game. That was 95th nationally. Offensively, the rushing game wasn't particularly good. Their run defense was pretty good. As far as passing the ball, 14th nationally, 264.7 passing yards per game, and they allowed too many yards through the air. But this is a program that it seems like it's going in the right direction, Brandon. And under Brian Wright, you got Ty Pennington, some pieces there. The running back Karan Gossett is kind of untested, but they don't really rely on the run game. They go through the air. So as long as their wide receivers are there and can catch the ball, Ty Pennington's going to find them. I think this is going to be an intriguing year, and their defense, I think, is much improved with some of the pieces. Your thoughts here on Northern Arizona?
Well, the problem is if you can throw the ball well, cool, congratulations. But what if you come in and you go 3 drives, 3 and out, and you can't move the ball? You are more than likely going to find yourself in a hole. It's just a really tough way to live, and they're open with, we're going to throw the ball as a first, second, and probably third option there. They love winning those types of games where they feel if they can get 35 points and turn it into a chase, let's say. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of teams now know the MO, and it's just, for me, a very tough way to live. If you have elite guys on the outside that with your quarterback, and Ty Banks is a really good quarterback, I'm not necessarily worried about him over the course of 12 games. I'm worried about those receivers, options in there. I can always, if you tell me, I got to take away a number 1 guy, I can do that. I can figure that out over a course of 1 game over the course of the year. So who's 2? Who's option 3? Can they develop a run game to alleviate some of that pressure? Because if they get into a matchup and some defense can get very creative and figure out how to get home with a low amount of numbers and make it uncomfortable for Ty Pennington, they will have a very long game. I think what we saw out of them last year is we're going to see a lot of wins where they go 40 plus points, but we're also going to see some bad losses from them. We're going to see games where they just can't score the football. So I don't see much change out of this team other than what they were able to do last year, 7-5. I can see them going 8-4. I can see them, going 6-6. I think that's the window that we look at with them in there as well.
Yeah, I agree. And Coach Jackson, you lose a player like Colby Kotsis, who was mentioned in the chat, and I didn't see that they were able to replace those receiving numbers, and that could be a problem when you rely so heavily on your starting quarterback. But your thoughts on the Jacks?
I think offensively that they'll be fine. I'm like Brandon. I'm concerned defensively. I mean, I think they'll roll through the ham fat at the bottom of the league, but I don't believe that they'll be able to contend with the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. So they're about middle of the pack for me, which is an improvement over a couple of years ago. But you're not going to win consistently in that conference at the upper level if you can't play defense, and that's what they ought to concentrate on first and foremost.
Yeah, and I think that's necessary in the Big Sky because you got so many great offenses. But here we go with our top team in the Big Sky. It is Montana State. No surprise here. Brent Vegan is back. They just came back from the White House. Offensive coordinator Peter Sturback in his 2nd season. Defensive coordinator Bobby Daly in his 4th season. They're the returning FCS champion after defeating Illinois State in the FCS championship there. Key pieces returning: Justin Lamson, Adam Jones, Taco Dallard, Dane Steele, a wide receiver, linebacker Cole Taylor, Zach Cruz, and defensive back Caden Dallard, rather. They scored almost 38 points per game. Yeah, and only allowed 19 points per game. This is a very, very good football team, and Brandon said it very, very early on last year that this year, actually it may have been Coach Jackson who started it, but one of my peers said that this team might be better in 2026 than in 2025 early in the season. And that is, I think, on everyone's mind right now. This team may be better than last year's national championship team, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much else to say about this team. They are the best team in the Big Sky. Hands down, clear cut. I will entertain arguments for why they are not, but lo and behold, you're not going to win that. You'll probably be committed if you're really dead set on trying to convince me that they're not the best team in the Big Sky. This team, I mean, this is like South Dakota State the second year when they went through and you knew, okay, just bookmark them for Frisco back then. Just bookmark them for. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna. I think there's a little bit more parity from top to bottom across the whole FCS landscape, but this is a Final Four team right now, stepping off the bus, not getting, if they don't improve over the course of the year, they're still making it to the Final 8. They're still making it to the quarterfinals. Brent Vegan is not going to settle for that. So I think this team is scary good. I mean, if this was college football 27, they're rating in the 80s and everybody else is in the 70s.
Yeah, no doubt. Everyone's favorite to win. They start at Utah Tech. They have Butler, then Nevada, Central Connecticut State. Should be an easy start. Then you go Northern Arizona in Bozeman. You go to Moscow, Idaho, Eastern Washington, and Cheney, Washington, Weber State at home, Cal Poly at home, Idaho State. Could be a very tricky game there in Pocatello, Idaho. And then Northern Colorado on the road, and then home at Bozeman Stadium, or Bobcat Stadium rather, in Bozeman to face Montana November 21st. You got to think, Coach Jackson, and you never want to project it or say it, but unless this team has something go wrong, they should cruise through this schedule. Do you see, or can you think any different on this football team?
No, you know what? Here's the thing, and it's just personal of mine. I hope they get beat during the regular season at least once.
Okay.
The only way that you got a chance of stopping them once they get in the tournament is if they go into the tournament undefeated, because things get a little tight as you go along. At that time, one loss and you're out. And during conference play, if they get beat during the season, you can go on and book Coach Vegan up here at the Nashville Marriott or wherever he wants to stay, um, in January, and I think you can do that anyway. They're just that much better. When you got the best coach, the best quarterback, the best offensive line, the best defensive line, and arguably the best running backs, and quite honestly, the best receiver, Taco Dowler's back. I good luck,
Both
good luck.
Dowlers. Yeah.
I don't see him. I don't see him getting derailed.
Yeah, Wyatt Earp coming in was saying tight ends for the Cats, the most underrated position group in any team in the country. That may be true. They got some big bodies there, and if their tight ends are as good as some of these other folks, you got to look out. Listen, Montana State is everyone's favorite right now, and I kind of feel like what you're saying, Coach Jackson, is you might start seeing people want them, kind of like the way the New England Patriots and Dallas Cowboys of old, people really rooting against them. Could that change the aura or momentum around him? Probably not. Brent Vegan is a stoic dude. And you see people in there talking about he's had offers and turned them down. He loves Bozeman. I don't know if a couple years ago we had him on the program, and as we started the interview, he said, "Let me close the blinds behind you." And it was just the Rocky Mountains. It was like the most beautiful scenic. I was like, "Don't close the blinds, Coach. It's amazing." But he loves being there, so we shall see. And mention his son. I think he's got two sons that play for Montana State that may get some playing time. All right, that's our deep dive through the Big Sky. We're going an hour and a half, gentlemen. I hope Brandon, the kiddos are asleep as we move into our big question of the week, and I've loved these. Just some quick thoughts in chat. Get involved as well. By the way, thank you guys for being active in the chat. You've been awesome. And Wired Up 55, seeing you comment. Ron Lowney, very active in the chat. G6 has been fantastic. Coach Jackson reading also, I got to start sending it to you. All right. As Power 4 programs hunt for $1 million patches, they're talking about corporate sponsors now on these uniforms. Some teams have already said they're going to have some corporate sponsorships on their jerseys. Could a corporate sponsorship on FCS jerseys become the ultimate equalizer to help small budgets bridge the gap, or will it just turn historic regional programs into walking billboards for regional banks and car dealerships? Coach Jackson, you've been around small football, quote unquote, FCS level football. You know the money comes from mom and pop stores very often. You're not going to get some of those big names on your jerseys. It might be, the hardware store. What are your thoughts on the corporate sponsorships in general being on uniforms, and could it be something the FCS uses for a money injection into this division?
Absolutely. I really don't have a problem with it. You got to be careful with some of your sponsors. I think somebody got OnlyFans sponsorship, which whatever. I wouldn't have it on my jerseys, but um, I FCS football is very regional. So yes, of course you're not going to have a Bank of America patch on nobody, but you could get a I don't know, CG Bank patch or something like that. I'm all for them decorating the uniforms. I mean, I watch NASCAR. Those their little uniforms don't really bother me too terribly much. I hope they keep it to maybe 2 or 3 patches. I don't want to see them all over the front, and I definitely don't want to see them up and down the pants or anything like that.
Have you seen like D League, like NBA though? I mean, it's pretty gaudy.
Yeah,
It's pretty bad.
yeah, yeah. I hope it doesn't get to. I hope it doesn't get to. Liberace level gaudiness, but
Nice
you know,
reference.
yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. And again, if it gets more local businesses involved with your local school, and that drives more local people to put their local butts in your local seats in your local stadium, then I'm all for it. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's more attainable for FCS people, or for people to get involved with your FCS schools, and trying to buy buy the naming rights at the University of Kentucky or something like that.
And that's not a bad thought of the local, because that is who drives a lot of these, Brandon, those local boosters. And they may be throwing a couple thousand to Alabama if they're a North Alabama fan, but also giving some to that program. Obviously, they just built this big, beautiful stadium. What are your thoughts on the corporate sponsor? By the way, this is what it might look like if we get a chance to raise some funds. If we get to a lot of if we get enough subscribers and start bringing in some money, we might put a patch on Mercer or somebody, the FCS CheckDown, and see how that goes. What you got, Brandon?
It'd probably be cheaper to start in the Pioneer League.
Ooh, yeah.
I just think, for a lot of these FCS programs, they were losing money, winning games in the era where you didn't have to pay players. So, anything that can offset some of this financial occurrence is good. I mean, the cream will always rise to the top. People will give more to sponsor Montana State than they will, Eastern Washington. That's just the way it is. Unless you have one hyper regional. I mean, Auburn has the Yellowwood guy. That's endless streams of money in there. So if you have a financial backer, if you have, a sugar daddy, for lack of a better term, like Texas Tech and Cody Campbell, yeah, that could make a difference. That could be all the difference in the world. If you have some rich, famous alumni that loves the university and isn't an academic that wants to see athletics do well, then yeah, that's phenomenal. But at the FCS level, I see these more as, yes, local and regional deals that will help offset some of the travel costs, that will offset, some of the NIL costs. And that's really good for the financial viability of some of these programs. But let's make it clear, this will not be a determining factor of a have versus a have not. You could scale this to an FBS level thing. No, there will be no jersey patch sponsor of a MAC school that suddenly makes, Eastern Michigan, on par with Michigan, because if they have that type of money to put their patch on Eastern Michigan, then you know what Michigan's going to say? Hey, for a little bit less, we'll get you way more exposure over here in the big house. We'll do something with you that gets you more exposure. So we're going to see those types of games played, but even where it's kind of local to where I am. I mean, I don't know how much big money is flowing into Carrollton, Georgia, for West Georgia, for Mercer, outside of our potential sponsorship of their jerseys and uniforms. But any money is still good money. As long as the check clears and you don't have the government knocking on the door asking where this money come from, I say it's a win.
Well, it's certainly interesting, and I think that Ron was saying winning cures everything, and Steve Hotchkiss says you need a new revenue stream. I don't know if putting on decals, but Premier League does it. Every year, those $20 million to have something across your chest. Do you get the exposure on ESPN Plus that some of these places it'd be tricky. It'd be tricky.
For every Ohio State that gets $20 million, way more. The vast majority of these deals aren't substantial. I don't want to say substantial. They're meaningful, but they're not like game-changing amounts of money for these programs. I mean, North Dakota State took on Gate City Bank as their sponsor. Guess what? Gate City Bank is on everything North Dakota State to begin with. So It's not like it's a huge influx of new money coming in. This is a partnership of a company that is already invested into the program that doesn't have to pay more, conceivably, than an outsider coming in, and doesn't necessarily have to worry about a huge return on their investment with that. They're already ingrained in the program.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I just, we'll see.
Well, and they got to do it with class too. I mean, you don't want you don't want big lose bail bonds on your backside or anything like that. It's got to. There ought to be, there ought to be some standards. To it. And it's got to look classy.
And I don't want to sound,
sound it. Just sound it.
I want to be respectful.
Yeah, you do.
But for a lot of these programs, I mean, you're not worth the value necessarily of giving you the money. Now, what I will do if I'm somebody like, Pilot, for example, they sponsor Tennessee's field at Neyland Stadium. Well, you know what? Guess what? Well, if you're another program, let's just say Tennessee Tech, I'm not giving you money. You're not worth the money. But what I will do is, hey, anytime you need to fill up with gas, come to a Pilot. Need some snacks, go to a Pilot. If I'm a hotel company, Marriott has huge ties to Utah. I think they were founded in Utah. I expect Marriott to probably be in play for something like there. The team goes on the road 6 times a year. That could create the value there. And again, I'm not giving you money. I'm offsetting some of the money you would spend by getting that jersey patch, and it's a B2B deal. So I think a lot of these deals, not necessarily you're going to see cash exchange because it's not worth it. I think a lot more could be B2B relationships as well that could help them offset some of that financial burden.
Yeah. Well, we shall see how it goes. FCS does need that money injection, and like Coach said, just don't ruin those legendary uniforms with just a bunch of ugh. We'll see. Listen, that's going to be rapid for an hour and 36 minutes. You guys have been awesome. Chat, you have been fantastic. Rob, welcome aboard. Mara just joining in, and a big Idaho fan, so go back and watch what we talked about. We said Eck era is gone. You got to let it go and have this Thomas Ford era to move forward. It seems
Probably
like that's a whole...
Go back and look at what we said about Idaho.
Especially what Brandon said about Idaho. No, I'm just kidding. Don't ruin Davis's helmet. It's Mackenzie's been on the logo train big time. Yeah, talk about a lot of logos. But we always say we're going to do our best and worst. Maybe we do we did early on. We did 5 logos in, 5 logos out. Like you have to choose. We'll choose some of the best ones. Anyway, whatever. We just got a couple weeks before kickoff. Then we can really start talking about stuff that matters. Because right now it's an hour and a half of just whatever. But we love doing the show. I love hanging out with Brandon and Coach Jackson in our chat, and Steve McKenzie and Ron has been fantastic, and G6 is always great. Thanks, Zach McKinnell, for jumping in as well. Make sure I'm not missing anybody out. Rob, well, welcome aboard. Wyatt Erb, great to see you. Brandon, Kobe, all you guys make this so much fun. Please do like and subscribe. It does help out. We usually get about, we got 379 viewers. We usually get, we may have 400 views, and then the like game's a little bit weak. We probably have about 80 likes or something. So, and that happens with every channel. But when you do subscribe, it's free. It just tells you when we're going online, and kind of gives us a gauge of what kind of content. And please comment. We do love the comment. Most of it's been how terrible the IA has been. The artificial intelligence logos have been. Y'all didn't get
Free
any of
Black Adam Jones.
Y'all didn't get any of the players right this time. Well, today, this week, I went through and made sure all the players looked similar to what they actually look like. I can't help it if AI gives them a third nose or changes their color. It's just it's just too difficult. But we do love your
Black Adam.
Yeah, we do love your comments. Thank you guys so much. Next week, react to OPT as top 25. Yeah, we did our top 25 as well.
Did you see Zach McKinnell's top 25?
I have not seen Zach McKinnell's top 25. He might be on the. Sorry, Zach. Well, tease me. What ooted about it? And we're gonna leave it.
He likes Tennessee Tech.
Oh.
He likes Tennessee Tech. He likes Tennessee Tech a lot more than he likes some other schools. But literally, it's hard to argue with what he's got. With what he's put out there right now, dude, Zach does a fantastic job.
He does.
If you haven't seen his top 25, you ought to go check that out.
Yeah, Zach's fantastic, and as well as all of our friends that do the FCS the stuff is fantastic.
He's actually got me hostage here. He's holding a gun on me. That's why I keep looking.
Tennessee.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Zach has North Dakota State and Sacramento State 1 and 2 in his FCS pool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have a Zach McKinnell patch on my shirt next.
I think you're watching the wrong. Oh yeah, the FCS Zach down.
Yeah.
Guys, you guys have been awesome. I'm gonna get out of here before we get too much trouble. Thank you guys so much. Do like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back next week, and I'm not real sure what we'll be doing, but we'll be doing something, I promise. Brandon, go take care of those babies. Coach Jackson, you're the best. Thank you so much. Chat
now they're on their own.
Yeah, off to Candyland or whatever they call it.
They know how to work
Sandtown.
with television.
Off to see, yeah. All right, guys. Y'all have a great one for Coach Jackson. Brandon Joseph. I'm Nathan McCreary. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. This has been the FCS Checkdown. Let's go.